So, hey, we are going to move on like we started off with. Today is Saturday, and there are so many games on the docket and so many games that have bowl implications, CFP implications, and division implications. And I mean, we're gonna focus on the top 25 today. There's a lot of other games, obviously, we can focus on, but there's a lot happening in the top 25 where one or two or even three teams lose, and all of a sudden the whole top 25 needs to be redone. So we're gonna see, and we already know who's number one. But before that, there's a number of games that come on in the SEC, and on Monday and sometimes Thursday, you got two of the best hosts this side of Athens, Georgia. You know about Mr. Fingers, Anthony Club Say Handy. But he has a partner, man. He has a partner, man, that is down south, little Creole, a real accent, not that Brian Kelly stuff. A real accent. My guy, Colin P. What up, Colin?
Hey, what's happening, guy? A little Creole, huh? Creole, huh?
Come on now. Let's get it.
What's going on, fellas?
Not too much, man. How about you?
Oh, I'm doing good, man. Doing good. Getting ready for this, kind of getting geared up for this game at 3:30, man. I'm getting a little bit nervous. I don't know why, but I'm getting a little nervous. It is SEC, man. It's Florida. They can jump out at any time. Anytime.
Absolutely. Hey, you let us right into it. I love the gear. I love the attire. Let's talk about it. Number one, Georgia playing Florida, the world's largest cocktail party. I mean, look, I've heard people say as much as, 21-point blowouts, and this isn't going to be a game. Talk to me about this one, man. Does Florida stand a chance, or, I mean, what should we expect?
Well, I mean, I kind of was nervous about it, but after yesterday, Vince Dooley died, so I think that's going to light a fire in our guys. I think they're going to win this one for him. So, I mean, I don't know if it's going to be a 23-point blowout. I mean, I don't know if the line holds true. But, I hope so. But, I mean, I'm looking for a good game today. It's always a battle between Florida and Georgia. And, the crowd is just crazy. Like I was telling on my show on Monday, if you go into the stadium, it's split 50-50, Florida and Georgia.
Oh, yeah.
Wow. So, I mean, it is just insane. It's an all-tell stadium and every seat is filled. I mean, it's an NFL stadium, so every seat is filled. It is quite the experience. But I'm ready to go, man. I think the Dogs will be ready to go too. They've been continually getting better last couple of games. Kind of fixing some of their mistakes and stuff. And Stetson can hold true and pick it. Hit his targets, and we can run the ball. That's what we do is run the ball. We just run the rock, and keep doing it. Whatever works, don't deviate from it.
Oh yeah. Absolutely. Let me ask you a question on defense. Jalen Carter, he was the heir apparent to Big Baby, and he's been hurt a lot this year. He only has 4 tackles. Yeah. Will he play today? And if he does, will he make an impact?
I don't think he's going to play today. I mean, from everything I've read, I don't think he's going. They're not going to try him just to make sure he does not get hurt any worse. I haven't seen anything. I mean, I need to check the news. I haven't heard of him playing or not, but I'm ready for him to play, man. Because he's the guy. He's our the Kobe Dean. I mean, I'm waiting on him to get back in there, and he definitely, when he's in, he definitely makes an impact.
Absolutely.
Oh yeah. And look, Alex, I'm going to come to you. Hey, they're number one. Georgia's number one. Florida unranked. We know about their first year coach and Billy Napier. But this is a SEC matchup. This is the world's largest cocktail party. This is the rivalry. So talk to me. You and I have both said that we don't think this is going to be as big of a blowout as everybody's saying. What are you expecting from this?
I'm expecting a kind of a back and forth game early because it's that high intensity neutral site game, the big time rivalry. I expect kind of back and forth for 2.5 quarters ish, and then Georgia to pull away and win by like 2 touchdowns late.
Yeah, I can agree with that. It's just it's everybody needs to settle down. There's a lot of adrenaline. Yeah. Once you get going there, and once both teams settle down, we'll see what actually happens. I mean, it might be tough there the first couple, maybe a quarter or two, like you said.
Yeah. And look, at the end of the day, in my opinion, Anthony Richardson for Florida. Yeah. He has to have the best game of his life. He has to, not only throw for multiple 100 yards, but he also needs to run for over 100, if not over 150 yards, and really kind of put that Georgia defense on notice. I think if Jalen Carter is not playing, that that could hurt.
Mhm.
But I still think Georgia just has too much of a powerful team now. And we're going to move on real quick because the only thing that I really think could hurt Georgia is looking to that next game that they have to play.
Yeah.
And they play today. Number 3, Tennessee plays number 19, Kentucky. And we've talked about this, Colin. You and I have gone back and forth kind of on this. Tennessee, they've got a lot of momentum. They're undefeated at number 3. Kentucky's no slouch, though. They've had injuries. Rodriguez didn't play the first 4 games of the year. What are you expecting in this one right here?
I expect a shootout, to be honest with you. I think it's going to be, excuse me, with both quarterbacks for Tennessee and Kentucky, I think they're going to just be firing the ball down the field. That's what I'm looking for today. It's basically going to, I don't know if Tennessee's going to pull away from them. I don't think this is going to be a large margin of victory for either one of them. I think it's going to be a tight game the whole game, and maybe just as simple as who has the ball last. But yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing them both play, both quarterbacks, and then to see if Hyatt can get the 5 catches for 6 catches for 5 touchdowns. I couldn't believe that. I was like, how in the world can you have 6 catches and 5 of them be for touchdowns?
Well, he leads the country in receiving touchdowns, and half of them came in that game.
Yeah, no doubt. He had 200 and something, 250 yards or something crazy like that.
Yeah.
It was ridiculous.
Insane.
Right now, he has 12 touchdown receptions.
Yeah, but Sean, to your point though, when we play Tennessee, we're going to have to make sure our secondary is well aware of that. I don't understand how he got behind those DBs for Alabama and how he got yards after catch. As soon as he caught the ball, he was gone. It was just no catching him. So we've got to definitely pay attention to that. But not looking quite ahead of Tennessee yet. We got to take care of Florida first.
Well, if you're Tennessee, you got to make sure you're not looking past Kentucky and looking to Georgia.
Right.
Both of you got to make sure you take care of business today.
That's exactly right. Absolutely right. Yep.
And look, in the spirit of that same comment, I think both teams need to. You talk about Kentucky. Kentucky's not dead here, ladies and gentlemen. They're 5-2. We've known they've struggled, and they lose to Ole Miss. They lose to who they else lose to? They lose to LSU. No. Who else do they lose to this year? Let me check it. Ole Miss, South Carolina.
That's right.
That's right.
Yes. Yeah. So, it's a team it's on the come up. They won the last 4 games, but Kentucky is no slouch. We know about Will Levis. Rodriguez is back at running back. These last couple of weeks are going to be huge. Tennessee
absolutely.
playing Georgia, Kentucky, Tennessee, Florida, Georgia. This is going to be interesting. What do you guys? I'm going to come to you about Georgia and Tennessee. Number 1 with Georgia. What do you think's happening? Not all the way to CFP, but just for the remaining games this year.
Well, for Georgia, for the remaining games we have on the schedule?
Yeah.
Yeah, we can't look past any of them. Honestly, you just made that point. We got Florida, then Tennessee, then Mississippi State. Even, we can't even look past Mississippi State. We've got to pay attention to these last 3 games, and they're all in the SEC, so they're very important wins for us. And like you said, though, there's anything can happen. With these last 3 or 4 weeks or whoever the other teams have to play. And it's kind of odd to me that the SEC East now is actually. The side of the conference is actually doing better than the West. So, usually we're the stepchild. So usually we're pretty bad. But, so, it definitely, it's SEC. You could look, even if Vanderbilt was in the equation, you couldn't look past them. You couldn't look at, you can't look past a quote unquote or a perceived subpar team in the SEC because they'll jump out and bite you. So,
yeah. Oh, absolutely. So we'll see. And like you said, Tennessee, they have Kentucky today. They play a Missouri with a very strong defense that they gave you guys a little bit.
We know that.
South Carolina, like I said, is on a 4-game win streak, and they play aforementioned Missouri today. And then Tennessee ends with Vanderbilt. So look, none of these teams has a cakewalk towards the end of the year. The meat of the schedule is happening right now, and I'm excited to see what comes out.
So I got a question for you guys. Do you think Alabama has another loss? Do you think they will get another loss?
If we're counting the conference championship, I have one more loss.
The conference championship? Okay. They've got.
I think I think either you or Tennessee in the conference championship, I think, beat them.
Yeah, I have to say I agree with that. We've talked about Bryce Young all year. Yes, he's great. Yes, he can do it. But the thing about it is, I don't know that he has that much help. Jahmyr Gibbs, solid. McClendon can run. But what big name receivers do they have? We've seen about the guy that left you guys, went over there and got in trouble with all that nonsense.
Yeah.
So, Saban has been, Saban's always getting animated and yelling on the sidelines, but this year he's been rough. He's been real, ticked off. And I'm wondering if that rears its ugly head again, one of these big name matchups, because they were in it with Tennessee. They still put up 49 and had an opportunity to win it late in the game, but could not get it done. I wonder if that is going to affect them down the line.
I mean, look at all the penalties they had. I mean, they're still in the game, but 17, penalties. That says something.
Right.
But I don't know. I mean, I'm kind of up in the air with LSU. I don't know what kind of game they're going to have against them.
That's an interesting one.
Yes,
that might be the second loss that, if there is one, that I could possibly see. I'm not saying it is. I'm just saying that could be the only one. I mean, they've got Ole Miss and Auburn and Austin Peay. Ole Miss, Austin Peay, and Auburn, the Iron Bowl. But I don't see them having too much trouble with Auburn. So
no,
I don't either. Yeah, buddy. So look, hey, we're going to bring you in a little bit. We're going to talk about a couple of the other games, and then we're going to bring you in on some more SEC action. We appreciate you. Stick with us in the background, and I'll bring you in a little bit. All right?
Yes, sir.
My man. Yeah, buddy. So, let's move in. Let's move into your conference, the Big Ten, and probably one of the best matchups. You know what? Just for this matchup, I think we need to let the battle lines be drawn.
All right.
Yeah, buddy. Michigan plays Michigan State, and go green, go white, baby. What are you expecting in this one? Please don't tell me a blowout, because I still have to talk to Kat today.
Sorry, but
here it goes.
That's about where I'm going. I wish it was going to be set up for a better game. I really do, because I love like last year's matchup. I loved it. Even though we lost, I absolutely loved it. I love those close rivalry games, the back and forth, where it's so fun to watch for the full 60 minutes.
Yep.
It's just Michigan State hasn't been able to really get anything going this year. No. So the spread's at like 22. I expect it to be right around there.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
This is going to be rough. We already know what Blake Corum is doing. We know how he's been dominating on the ground. But the biggest issue for Michigan State has been that pass defense. I mean, honestly, that pass defense has been giving up major yards. We gave up 283 a week ago to Wisconsin. You and I talked about how Mertz ain't a solid quarterback, and they took us to OT. So it's going to be rough. We know what Ohio State did, putting up over 300 on us. We know Washington almost put 400 passing yards on us. If JJ McCarthy gets the pass, and this game might be over quickly. I will say this: being at Michigan State, being at that game against the Wisconsin team that we probably should have beat handily, they're struggling, and they played up for that game. Honestly, the play calling is going to be suspect. If we can keep y'all off the field, that's great. If the game goes into Peyton Thorne's hands, it's over.
Yeah, exactly.
Point blank.
Exactly.
So what are your we know your predictions. What is going to be the score?
I'll go around. I'll say 35-10.
Oof. Jeez Louise. I appreciate you giving us 10 points, because I don't even see that. I got to go like 38-7.
Fair.
And I will definitely cut this part out. So when I show Kat, she won't see that. But yeah, it's going to be rough, man. That defense is normally what Michigan State lives off of, and they have been kind of subpar. The offense really isn't getting it done. Reed is their only big name wide receiver, him and Coleman. But yeah, I don't think this is going to be pretty. So I definitely think Michigan moves on, and hey, rightfully so, after getting that victory over Penn State. And now Penn State has to play Ohio State. We know CJ Stroud We know how dominant he is. I think he only has 3 interceptions this year, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
Over 2,000 yards in the air. He's an amazing quarterback. We know how that offense is going. The two-headed monster running back. What are you thinking about this game?
I think this one's going to be more interesting than people are giving credit for.
Yeah.
Because it's in Happy Valley. That's the difference maker for me. Mm-hmm. I still think Ohio State's going to win. They're not covering the spread of 15.5 though.
Yeah.
I've got Ohio State by, I guess it depends what kind of game they play. Because I think if you're Ohio State, you look at how we played them and you look at how Minnesota played them. And that was 2 games where a ton of rushing yards were given up. So I think this is a game where it doesn't go into CJ Stroud's hands too much. I think you Travion Henderson and Williams, the second running back, and you try and impose your will like the last 2 teams have because they've been successful with it. Minnesota did it in Happy Valley in the Whiteout game.
Yeah.
So I'll say Ohio State by 2 touchdowns, just under that spread.
Yeah.
But I don't think Penn State's going to get embarrassed a 3rd week in a row with how bad their run defense has been, especially with it being so good all year.
Yeah.
So yeah, I'll say Ohio State by 2 touchdowns. And Johnny, no, this isn't a whiteout game because they're the big noon kickoff. Yeah.
Oh yeah, they're the early one. Yeah. No, look, I agree with you. I just think that offense is just too potent, and I think that defense is something that maybe people are sleeping on for Ohio State, but that defense can definitely shut squads down. So 6-1 Penn State. I'm glad they're doing well. And if they get that running game going by Nate Singleton, maybe, hey, we'll see. We'll see if they can keep CJ Stroud and that offense off the field. But I think anything short of maybe like bad weather, you know what I mean? Maybe some rain or snow or something, like anything short of that. I just don't think Ohio State's going to have that much trouble. I do think this might be a little closer early, but I think Ohio State will pull away later in this.
Well, if you look at Ohio State's 2 losses last year and any game they've been close in fairly recently, the way to do that to Ohio State is be physical with them. Run the ball, punch them in the mouth, and make it a physical football game.
Yes.
And Penn State has the ability to do that. They have a good offensive line. They've got 2 good freshman running backs. So this is another one where we say if Sean Clifford has to throw the ball a lot, they are not a good football team.
There it is. Absolutely.
Give it to the running backs, punch Ohio State in the mouth, and get that stadium rolling. Because if you can get that environment going, be physical, you never know what could happen.
Yeah, no bad weather here. Yep. And it's the day game. So
it's
going to be quite interesting, man. We'll see. I honestly, Notre Dame held them to 21 points. Obviously, it's the first game of the year. Play good defense, run the ball, don't make mistakes, create turnovers. Those are going to be the things that Penn State's going to need to do. And hopefully for James Franklin, they do. They're already bowl eligible, but they still have that thing hanging over their head that they can't really get over Ohio State. They can't really get over Michigan. They're always going to be third, behind those 2 teams. And hey, you win this game, that's how you start to erase that narrative. So we'll see what happens.
Well, and then it makes the Big Ten East very interesting because Michigan has the win over Penn State. Penn State has the win over Ohio State. And then you have that Michigan-Ohio State matchup to end the regular season.
Right.
So if Ohio State goes and beats Michigan, then it makes a very interesting case for who's going to win the Big Ten East.
Right.
Who's going to that conference championship game with a shot at the playoff? Like it makes for an interesting argument.
Oh, I'm excited to see what happens on that one. I'm excited to see what happens. Yo, let's go ahead and move on. Let's go dive into the Big 12 a little bit. Undefeated, 7th ranked TCU playing West Virginia. And shout out to Alex Schomburg, who was in here earlier talking about
He had a lot to say about TCU.
Yeah, he was going in on TCU a little bit earlier. Yeah. Just saying every team TCU beat, it's weird how the starting quarterback got hurt. Interesting.
That's something to look at.
Kansas. Right. TCU got lucky. Their opponent's creepy just happened to get hurt. Yeah, you're right. And it's interesting. It's very interesting. But still, you got to get the job done. You got to win it. We've seen what TCU's quarterback can do. West Virginia is no sleeper. They got stomped by a solid Texas team when Quinn Ewers came back, but then we're able to pull out the victory against Oregon a week ago. Was it Oregon or Baylor? I think it was Baylor, actually.
Baylor,
yes. What are you expecting? Does TCU stay undefeated?
This week, yes. I mean, you can see as an undefeated team, TCU's not getting that much respect. The spread's only 7.5.
Yeah.
It is in West Virginia, so that's something to look at there. But to me, I think they escape this week, and then you look down the line for them, Texas Tech. I think they win. But then they've got Texas and Baylor back-to-back weeks. I think they lose one of those two. Probably the Texas game because they're in Austin. So I think they'll take that one. But they definitely survive this week for me.
Yeah. I honestly, West Virginia's too up and down for me. Yeah. If West Virginia could control the clock, run the ball, and create some turnovers, maybe. But the way that Max Duggan is playing, I mean, you got a lot of years he's been slept on, and maybe he hasn't played this efficient. But when you have 19 touchdowns and only one interception, you know what I mean? Just 130 yards under 2,000 yards this early in the year. You have a solid running game. Your running back has over 700 on the ground. When you are moving the ball and when you have that competitive nature that we know Max Duggan has, I mean, look, you're playing great right now. And as long as you keep building that momentum, that's solid. I think they need to play a clean game because West Virginia is one of those teams that can come up and give you a quick little, a little sucker punch. And all of a sudden they're in this ball game. So TCU is going to need a clean game. And just like we said about Georgia, we need to make sure, and Tennessee, we got to make sure they're not looking ahead, TCU, to Texas and the Baylor down the line and overlooking a West Virginia.
Absolutely.
So I'm excited. Wow. Did they hurt you?
Here's the thing, Alec. You can only play what's in front of you.
Very true.
So you can only play the team that's on the field across from you. So a fake undefeated, I don't know that I can say that because they've won 7 games. They've won in every situation. They've won in overtime. They've won on the road. They've won at home. They top 25, unranked. It's tough to say a fake undefeated because there's the saying any given Saturday for a reason.
Very true. Very true. Now, look, to that party in Morgantown, look, I wish that they had fun down there. Let me tell you something. A coincidence their quarterbacks got hurt. Well, but then you got to look at Kansas State. They beat Kansas State by 10, and they had Adrian Martinez, who has been playing solid all year. You got Oklahoma State with Spencer Sanders, to, like Alex said, 1, you beat them in 2 overtimes. I get the Kansas situation, and even with the Kansas situation, yes, they got lucky, but I feel like, they're kind of they're putting themselves out there. West Virginia is going to be a tough test. Texas Tech after that will be a tough test.
Yeah.
So if they can get through these games and then obviously finish with Baylor and Texas and go 4-0 in this, hey, it's hard for me to say this, but I don't even know if I'll then believe in them. I love what they got going on.
Yeah.
But it's the Big 12, and we know what the Big 12 is. So it's going to be interesting. Kansas State. Adrian Martinez ain't bad. Let's go.
Yeah. He beat Oklahoma.
Right. Hey, and let's go into stay in the Big 12. Oklahoma State playing Kansas State. In this one. Hey, what are you thinking? Because I'm loving Kansas State. Deuce Vaughn is my guy. But after they took that loss, I don't know what to expect anymore, man. What do you think?
This is a tough one because, I mean, you look at the line, they're giving Kansas State 1.5. Kansas State's favored at home. I'm still leaning Oklahoma State slightly. But this is going to be a very good football game. To me, this could go either way. And to me, I just like the high power offense that Oklahoma State brings into this matchup. Oh, yeah. And neither team can really play defense. So give me the better offense in this one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Look, Martinez is playing well. He's playing well. No interceptions this year. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
He's been leading that team. And a lot of people have been sleeping on what Kansas State provides. We know Deuce Vaughn, like we talked about, over 700 yards on the ground. This offense is legit. And then you're going up against Spencer Sanders, who we knew about what he did against Central Michigan in that first game. We know how he's done thus far this year. This is going to be a high scoring game. This is going to be a pretty solid one, man. I honestly, I got Kansas State taking this one. You know what I mean? Because I mean, I think Kansas State, they have the momentum. Look, they're 5-2. We know Oklahoma State is 6-1, but I think this is one of those games that upstart Kansas State kind of frustrates Spencer Sanders. So
you gotta have a big day out of Deuce Vaughn. That's all. Yeah. Like he's got to have a massive game today. Run the ball lots. Him and Adrian Martinez both, because Martinez can run the ball like crazy too.
Exactly.
So pound the rock, control the game, and try and steal it late.
Right. And then to your point, Kansas State's running for over 230 yards a game. And, Oklahoma State's giving up 150, but this ain't that Oklahoma State defense from a year ago. We talked about it. They were one of the top, number one defenses a year ago, outside of maybe a Georgia and a Bama and those guys. This ain't that same team. They got a lot of guys that went into the draft and are actually playing pretty solid for their teams respectively. So this is a different defense. So we're definitely going to see what happens today, but that will definitely be huge. Alec, I know you're here, and that's why I put this one in here. Oregon at number 8 versus Cal. I don't expect much of a game in this one, especially with what Oregon did to UCLA a week ago. What do you think? You think we get any surprises today?
I think it's a very close game, actually. If you look at the past 5 years, whether Oregon's been very good or very bad, they play Cal close every year. I think Oregon still wins.
Yeah.
And I think Oregon wins by I'll give them 10 points. But I figure he's not a fan of the jerseys and that kind of stuff.
You're right.
I think Oregon, they'll walk out of there with a 10-point win. But this is one to keep an eye on, I think. Possible upset.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be interesting. And to that point about the jerseys, Alec, I gotta ask you this, man. I'm okay with green, lime green, yellow. I could do that. But what the heck was that black, pink, and whatever? What are y'all doing out there, man? I guess it helped you get the W, but whatever, man.
That was a good game last week.
It was, man. And I mean, it's interesting because, I wonder what that says about UCLA. They were undefeated before. And now they took the L. Look, the Pac-12, I know it's getting slept on because USC hasn't been great for a while. UCLA has kind of been down. Now those two teams are playing solid. We talked about Utah.
Very good teams.
Right. Oregon is doing it. So any one of these teams, I think, could contend outside of the conference. I just think that over the last couple of years since they've been struggling, a lot of people have kind of maybe pushed them to the wayside. And maybe because some of those teams are, potentially going to the Big Ten and moving elsewhere, they're they're not really viable. Watch out for the Pac-12, man, because we know what Utah did in that game, in the bowl game a year ago against Ohio State. They gave them everything they could handle. So
went toe to toe with them, and
exactly.
And Oregon went to Ohio State and beat them last year. Yeah. So it's a lot of these teams, and I think UCLA is in the same boat. I think they could go most places and contend.
Yeah.
USC is the one where I don't think you could take them out of conference and they contend very well.
Yeah.
Because of that defense. That defense is still a fraud. They're number one in turnovers and number one in sacks, or at least they were. I don't know if they still are. But it's because that offense got them out to such big leads that they could just pin their ears back and defend the pass the entire time.
Exactly.
If you take them against, for example, a Michigan and Ohio State and Alabama, Georgia, these top tier teams, they're getting torched.
Yeah.
Because these teams can run the ball. And I mean, we saw it with Utah. Utah can run the ball. And they were very physical with them. And it took a last second score, but they took that game at the end. So to me, USC's that team where if they're your playoff team, it's not a good look for the Pac-12 because they're going to go get slaughtered in the playoff. I think if UCLA was to go Oregon or Utah, I think they're fine. They're going to lose that first playoff game, but they won't look as bad doing it.
Exactly. Oh yeah. USC is all, it's all for show. if you will. You know what I mean? It's not, I don't think it's realistic like you were talking about, but we'll see. You know, when they start playing some of these later games, we'll see if how they level up. And as we've seen, as my guy said, there's 2 number 10s. USC is one of these number 10s, and the other one is Wake Forest. They're playing Louisville today. Sam Hartman versus Malik Cunningham. I
love
think
that
this
quarterback matchup.
Oh yeah. I'm telling you, I think this is one of these classic ACC matchups. I don't think this is going to be, you know, a strong stretch, a wide margin. Honestly, I think this could be a one possession game, if not an overtime game. Louisville has played tough against everybody that they've come up against, and including giving one of the only losses to UCF, where they shut them out in the second half. So, but then they're Wake with Sam Hartman, man. He's one of the top QB picks coming into this draft this year. What are you looking at what are you expecting in this one?
I'm expecting high scoring. This is going to look a lot like a Big 12 or a Pac-12 matchup.
Yes.
It's going to be those shootouts. I mean, like, you look at Hartman, he missed the first 2-3 games of the season. Still 1,750 yards, 21 touchdowns, 3 picks.
Exactly.
It looks like he's been playing an entire season numbers-wise like that, and that's against Clemson. That's against Florida State. Like, that's against damn good football teams.
Exactly.
So, and then, like, Malik Cunningham, 1,000 yards passing, 5 touchdowns, 4 interceptions. The touchdown interception isn't great, but then he's got 80 carries, 500 yards, and 9 touchdowns rushing.
Exactly.
So it's like, this is just, I expect fireworks. They're giving Wake Forest 3 points on the spread. I think it's going to be about that. Somewhere between 3 and 7 points is what I fully expect in this game, but I do expect Wake Forest to take it.
Oh, yeah. And it's going to be all about offensive production. I mean, look, both of these teams put up average of over 400 yards a game, okay? Yeah. And both their defenses give up a little over 200. So, look, it's going to be about offenses in this one. Sam Hartman, we know what he can do, and they're getting a little bit on the running game, but A.T. Perry is definitely getting it done with only over 30 receptions. But then on the flip side, you talked about Malik Cunningham. I understand the losses maybe have brought him down and maybe some Heisman talk or even the best quarterback in the country. But, I mean, you talk about somebody that is the team. He's leading the team. He's leading them in passing and in rushing. Come on now. I mean, he, in my opinion, is a more polished, more refined version of like maybe an Anthony Richardson. He can run, he can move, but he, in my opinion, moves this offense a little bit better. You know what I mean? You have a couple breaks here and there. They lose to Florida State late, which they should have won. I talked about one of the other games they've won. They're 4-3 this year in Louisville, so I don't want us to sleep on them. But I'm agreeing with you. This is going to be one of those back and forth games that's going to come down to late in the game. And this is the one that going into the 7:00 game, because this is a 3:30 one, that I'm going to be watching to the T.
Absolutely.
Like, okay. All right, I'll switch it. All right, we're good. You know what I mean? You're going to see the very end of this one. So
100%.
Oh, yeah. Now, let's go into, so those are the top 10s. Any other top 25 matchups that catch your eye?
Well, your guys' game. To me, I kind of look at UCLA Stanford is an interesting one to me. Ole Miss and A&M. Yes. Ole Miss going on the road to Kyle Field there is another very interesting one. Cincinnati UCF. Notre Dame Syracuse. That's another very good one. I expect that one to be that's an old school football matchup. That's going to be very physical, low scoring, lots of running. You might get like a 13-10 kind of game there, honestly.
Right. Defenses.
Yeah.
High level defenses. Yeah. North Carolina, we know we're ranked 21. Glad we're finally ranked, going up against a solid Pitt team that, although they have 3 losses, they have a strong running game. I've been Akonda. I'm pretty sure that's how you say his last name. The running back for Pitt has almost 1,000 yards on the ground, 13 touchdowns. Had a game, I believe, 2 weeks ago where over 300 yards on the ground. Like Mac Brown, our coach, said this guy's one of the best running backs in the nation, especially that nobody really talks. Right. This guy is a legitimate force in there. So, and we've seen the struggles that we've had against on defense, especially with teams rushing and passing the ball. So, we know the joy. We know how great our guy Drake May is, and this is another game where he can continue to just build on his early success. But it's going to come down to defense. It's going to come down to us stopping them, or this game's going to come down to the wire. And I kind of think it will come down to the wire. I'm hoping we can pull out the dub. If you don't know, now you know. So I will be definitely ready for this one. This is 8:00.
Yeah.
I have a 1-year-old's birthday party to go to.
I thought it was going to be about this game, and I was like, well, it should be over by halftime, so you can watch it.
Right. So I will definitely be having this one on my phone, looking happy birthday, touchdown, yeah. We'll see. But yeah, like you said, Syracuse versus Notre Dame. Syracuse, we know, got their first loss, and that's going to be interesting because Notre Dame at 4-3. A lot of people are sleeping on them because they've had certain losses. They lost to an Ohio State team that was solid. Marshall, Pete, don't sleep on Marshall. I know their record might not be indicative of how good their team actually is. So they were able to get the W over Notre Dame. Notre Dame took it to us, but Syracuse, let's see what they can do. Cincinnati, UCF. Cincinnati 6-1, UCF 2 losses, and what last time they played, they put 70 up on somebody. You know what I mean? So we know what they're gonna do. But I'm gonna bring my guy back in real quick because we got some more SEC action to talk about. And the first one, South Carolina on a 4-game win streak going up against Missouri. Now, I definitely want to talk about this one because yes, South Carolina is doing well. But Missouri, that defense has proven to give everybody trouble. You know about it firsthand. What are you looking for in this game right here?
Oh, you're muted.
You're on mute.
Sorry about that.
There you go.
I didn't my fault. Yeah, I honestly think it's going to be a good game. I mean, both teams are actually gotten to be playing pretty well as the season progressed, and Missouri was a shock for us. I mean, and it looks like Rattler's trying to get his game together. Yeah, I mean, he's trying. So I mean, that I think me saying that is the main component of if South Carolina stays in this ball game. So I think what South Carolina's getting 3.5. So yeah, I mean. I don't know. It's all about that Missouri defense. If the Missouri defense shows up like I think they will, that they might pull up the upset on this.
Oh yeah. It's gonna be that Missouri defense versus the rushing game led by Marshawn Lloyd of South Carolina.
Yeah,
9 TDs getting done. Throughout this year. But to your point though, Spencer Rattler. You talked about him year in, year out. He's this, he's that. He's at Oklahoma. He got his job taken. Now he's over here. He has 5 touchdowns and 8 interceptions. That offense isn't great.
Right.
Is this going to have to fall on his shoulders today, in your opinion?
I think so. I mean, he's been touted as the greatest player. I mean, ever since he came to SEC, and he's even boasted about it. He said that he probably played better in the SEC, but than where he came from, and that obviously did not happen. So I mean, he kind of blew a little bit too smoke before he needed to. But I mean, it falls squarely on his shoulders. I mean, he needs to. I mean, anytime you have more interceptions, you do have touchdowns. I mean, come on, you need to. You need to fix what's broken, and I can't tell you what's broken. Only he can tell you that. So I have no idea.
It's between the ears. I think it's absolutely between the ears.
Oh yeah, right up in there. Oh, without a doubt. Look, and part of it is like you said, he's been touted as the next thing coming, the best thing since sliced bread, if you will. You know what I mean? He's been touted as the guy. It didn't come to fruition in Oklahoma. It doesn't look like it's coming to fruition here at South Carolina. And the part that it really frustrates me is you have a coach that everybody in Columbia, everybody in South Carolina seems to be on board with and following.
Oh yeah.
And and my question is, when do you get to the point? I mean, I guess if you're winning, you don't do this, but when do you get to the point where you're like, Spencer, let's see what the backup has to offer?
Right. Exactly. That seems to be the question on a lot of these teams. I mean, it just how long is too long? You have faith in your guy. I mean, we can say that about Stetson. You know what I mean? And Kirby gave him just enough time where he kind of worked out of his funk. You know what I mean? But your question, how long is too long? Like when do you bring the guy off the bench? So,
to compare it to Stetson, you had a very talented backup in JT Daniels sitting there.
right.
So you had a guy that people have seen on a national stage at USC, and he performed fairly well while he was there. So you had a guy where it was kind of like pushing, and people wanted that big play factor. Where
Right.
South Carolina, we haven't really seen the backup too much, if I'm not mistaken. So it kind of is that little unknown that people want to find out. It makes it quite interesting.
Yeah. Definitely.
We'll
I
see.
mean, I really thought Christian would play better than he has this year. So I think a lot of people did.
Yeah, we all did, right? We all did. You are not alone. But sticking in the SEC, number 15, Ole Miss plays probably one of the shockingly most disappointing teams this year, unranked Texas A&M. We're going to talk about the coach a little bit later, and I want to keep you on here for that because I know you got something to say about that, Colin. But number 15, Ole Miss, Texas A&M. What are you expecting?
I don't know, dumpster fire. I think Ole Miss is going to take this pretty handily. I mean, I'm beginning to like Lane Kiffin, and I think him being Lane Kiffin, and Jimbo Fisher. Yeah, Jimbo Fisher being in the position he's in right now, he's chomping at the bit to get this game going, and I think he's going to pull out some. I wouldn't be surprised if trick plays or some kind of stuff going on in Lane's head, just to mess with Jimbo. So
absolutely.
But I think Ole Miss is going to take this pretty handily.
Yeah, I mean, I got to agree with you, Alex. What you think, man?
I agree with everything he just said. Like, this is one where if you just see Ole Miss versus Texas A&M, and it's in A&M, you're looking at possible upset for A&M, but not this year. They're so good. Ole Miss is with that offense, specifically the run game this year, is quite surprising there. But I expect them to kind of come in and handle their business.
Yeah. And look, everybody, we've all touted Texas A&M's defense. We know about their recruits that have come in. It just has not come together. And a lot of it's because of that offense. But also that defense is going to have a rough day because they got to go up against this Ole Miss offense that, we know what happened last year with Matt Corral and all this, but they're averaging almost 500 yards a game. That quarterback Jackson Dart, the running game is just out of this world. They average over 350 yards, or over 250 yards on the ground a game. So when you have that slowly, methodically, you can keep the other offense off the field. But maybe that's a better thing because I don't know if Texas A&M offense wants to get on the field. I mean, they are archaic. They are very 1998 I-form run, and you're like, did you miss something, Jimbo? Like, this ain't working, man. This ain't working. So it's gonna be very interesting to see. But you got everybody got Ole Miss on this one?
Yeah.
And what did we say on this one? South Carolina or Missouri?
I got Missouri.
Okay.
I also have Missouri.
Woo! All right, hey, I'm sticking with my guy Spencer because he shares his first name, my last name, Spencer Rattler.
There you go.
5-0, 5 wins, baby. Let's get it, yo.
Thanks for watching. If you like that clip, be sure to check out the other great content from the Let's Talk Football community. And as always, please like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when more great content like this becomes available.